Hey,
It is Bodie Van Rockouts.
who are we going to interview today?
You're supposed to tell the
It's a
people
band
who are
called
watching.
Avoid.
Yes. And we are going to interview Benny Scholl. Scholl. I don't really know how to pronounce it.
And he's the singer of the band. They're from Seattle. Okay, here we go.
What's going on?
Benny, hey, how are you?
Doing well, man. How are you?
We're good. Man,
Yeah.
thank you so much for taking the time to meet with us.
Oh, of course. Thank you guys for taking the time to meet with me. I'm so happy you guys wanted me on.
We're honored to be able to talk to you.
Yeah.
All right, so you got Bodie here. Eric, this is what's your show called? Backstage with Bodie?
Yeah. Bodie's Backstage Pass.
All right.
Backstage Pass. I'm happy to be here.
All right. Well, welcome, man. You want to kick it off, Bodie?
Okay. I read in your bio that your band is described as a young act. So how old are you guys?
We're all pretty young. So I'm 22. Our drummer is 21. Our bass player just turned 20. Our other guitar player, and then both of our guitar players are 23 and 24. So we're all 1 year apart. If you go like 20, 21, 22, 23, 24.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like, what are some of the advantages to being young, being in a band?
Man, I mean, I think there's so many, and it's funny because it's like, you really got to start young in this industry, I feel like, and it's like, because we're really young, but like Nick and I have been playing music. This is our 8th year playing music together. So it's like, I think is more, you got to start really young, and it's really that's obviously there's a ton of outliers, and I'm not saying you got to touring at 14, but like, I think it's important that if this is something that you really like you got to start early. If you love guitar lessons, piano lessons, school band, whatever it is. But if there's something about playing music that you like, I think it's really important to stick with it really young.
Yeah. How did you get started?
I've always loved music, I've just been a big fan since day one, and I can't imagine a time in my life ever since I was first started having thoughts that I didn't see myself as like a rock star. Like that was my first dream as a little kid, and I've never lost that hope for wanting to get to that.
Awesome. Like, who was your favorite band growing up, or like, what was your first favorite band?
Green Day. Green Day is what did it. Billy Joe's performing and all of it. My parents got me the Bullet in a Bible CD documentary when I was, I don't know, probably 8. And I got American Idiot a couple years before that. And that really, I'd played drums and stuff before that, but that was like, oh, I really, like Billy Joe is able to, there's like, literally like 20,000 plus people here, and he has them on his pinky. Like they will do anything. And I just thought that art form was so beautiful of being able to connect that many people together. And so I'd say that's really what started it for me.
Awesome, man. So what made you what got you into singing? Like, how did you get into like wanting to front a band?
Yeah, I mean, I've always sung, you know what I mean? I never kind of there was a time where I decided I was going to sing in a band, but I've just always been singing ever since I was a baby. I was just, like, I just loved using my voice, and I would get my stuffed animals in the corner of my room, and I would play concerts to them and lip sing to my favorite songs off of a CD. I would make my parents go buy me blank CDs that I could burn favorite songs onto. So it's like, I'm still young, but like I remember having having the struggle before how accessible the freaking internet is. But I would burn CDs of my favorite songs, and I would play them on just this old CD player and lip sing and try and perform to all of them. And then I started playing drums, and I love drums, and I played drums for a long time, and I still do play drums. But I started it's now Avoid, but I started a band called Avoid the Void in 8th grade. It's never, even what we're doing today is still that. It was never like we're a different band. We rebranded to Avoid it, but it's never not been that band, which is really crazy to me to think. We've never broken up. We've never, all right, we're not going to do this thing that we started anymore. So that's, I feel like, a really, like, a rarity. Like, I've never been in another band. This is my only band. The same band I started in middle school, like, same guy I started it with. Like, this is all very, very organic and very authentic, and that's what I think is so exciting about this. But I played drums. I started the band playing drums and with a guitar player, and we were a two-piece, and then we eventually a rock band camp over a summer, and that's where I met our still today guitarist Nick, and we just went through trying out a couple different singers kind of in rock band camp, and then brought a couple more in afterwards because we knew we wanted to continue to pursue it, and we just couldn't find anyone. I was like, you're not doing it right. You're not this isn't how a band is supposed to be fronted. And so I was just like, you know what, I'm gonna do it, and we'll find another drummer. But this is my job now, because I'm not gonna be happy with how anyone else fronts a band.
I love it. I mean, how long have you been band together now? So how long have you guys been playing together?
So Nick and I have been playing together since the summer of 2012.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And so Avoid the Void technically started, like, I'd say probably May of 2012. And then we switched and kind of rebranded everything to take it on a more professional, like, all right, let's try and get this band to the top. We changed it and rebranded to Avoid in 2017.
And then did the music evolve at all, or was it always heavy music?
Absolutely. It's always been heavy, but we were definitely more of like a genty, metalcore-y, futuristic-y, like very serious. Like, we definitely wanted to, not that we don't, I think music is all telling stories, but I think we looked too much into the look and we got to be a band that sounds like this, as most teenagers do. And then as we kind of got a little bit older, I think we rebranded to Avoid when I was 8, and it was like, out of high school, all right, we've had a great run, we've got a decent local following, and we did a couple tours under Avoid the Void. Now, I don't think people are going to be interested in our high school band. Like, it's cool and we have a great story, but we're just like, I don't think that this, just in what it is a big enough thing to sell. I don't think that that's going to catch people's attention. And so I was like, we should be a new entity where we're still, because we were Avoid the Void, now we're just Avoid. We're not breaking up, but we're rebranding. It's like when Pepsi gets a new logo. Like,
Yeah.
we just wanted to revamp it so that if you hadn't heard of us, or if you maybe briefly heard of Avoid the Void and thought we were like dumb local kids that didn't really know what we were doing, you wouldn't think of like, oh, who's this Avoid band? We wanted to just kind of have a clean slate, and not that we don't like the EP we put out, but it was just like we were very much so 15, 16, and the music has evolved now into where I think our first record was a little bit more metalcore driven, and now I would call us rock and metal and or just music, because we really don't go by any genre.
I love it. So you guys are in Seattle, and you covered. We definitely want to talk about the cover of the Foo Fighters song, but we want to take a step back and so you guys grew up in the Seattle Pacific Northwest area? Okay.
Yep,
so
all of us grew up within 20 minutes of downtown.
Okay. And then, so you were exposed, and then you were talking about, we talked about, Green Day, they're the Bay Area, but tell me about grunge, because grunge kind of derailed metal for a second, right? And what was your take?
Yeah. I think grunge, in a weird way, it killed metal and made heavy music the most accessible it ever was. I think it definitely, you know what I mean? Because that 90s resurgence of like this, like it was radio friendly, but it wasn't light by all means. But like you wouldn't have a modern day station that was not playing Anthrax or any of the thrashy stuff from the 80s, Exodus, anything that was like, like I think grunge really gave a cool way of going like you could still headbang to it, but you could also like maybe play it around your mom. Like yeah, so I think that it's a blessing and a curse, and because grunge also gave us post grunge. And that is the greatest and worst era of music in my opinion. But I love grunge. I love everything Seattle. I mean, I think Kurt Cobain was an absolute genius, and I think that his legacy is so weird because he got the right amount of recognition, and then somewhere down the line, someone wanted to say that he didn't know what he was doing or whatever, like any of us do, and try and derail that and kind of make it seem like he was like, oh, he was just lucky. And it's like, yeah, I mean, maybe you could say he wasn't the most technically proficient or whatever it was, but he is objectively just one of the greatest songwriters ever. I'm not even like big on Nirvana. Like I don't love every Nirvana song, but I appreciate the fact that he set a tone that you can write whatever the heck you want and do it as long as you do it authentically.
That's awesome, man. So
How did you get into metal?
What was that?
How did you get into metal?
Metal. I think really it was the Warped Tour scene. That the Warped Tour 20 like when I was in 8th grade was kind of when I started finding a lot of the metalcore like I love post-hardcore. That was really what was my branch. Bands like Pierce the Veil, Emarosa, Emery, all those earlier records. That I thought that was honestly, like the guys that sounded like girls. I thought that was kind of a cool, like that was a big trend there for a second. I really dug it. And I really dug Justin Bieber though too. Like I've always been a fan of just like whatever pisses people off, I absolutely love. I think it's amazing because that's the greatest. Like think about when everyone was so mad about Justin Bieber, the little teeny bopper coming out of Canada, and I was like, what do you mean? This dude's awesome. Like he's pissing all of you off. He's climbing the charts. He's a phenomenal performer. Like I love the boundaries that gets pushed by being weird.
I love that, man. So yeah, I wanted, when you were talking about Kurt Cobain, it got me thinking about your cover with the Foo Fighters song. So you're smiling about it so much. Tell me.
I love Dave, man. Dave Grohl he's God, man. He is really he is something else. And I think everything about Dave Grohl and his music career and everything is it's just such an incredible story. I don't know how deep you know it, but for any of the listeners, just to kind of give you the brief, it was just like from before Nirvana, Dave Grohl like dropped out of high school at 16 and started touring Europe with a metal band called Scream, and his mom, who was a school teacher, supported him completely. And then he eventually found himself in the Pacific Northwest with Scream and tried out for Nirvana on a whim, and then moved his entire life from I think it was just Virginia to Seattle, and then pursued it so hard. Nirvana put out Nevermind, and then overnight seemingly they were the biggest band in the world. But it wasn't. Like Nirvana was a band for so much longer before that, and Dave Grohl was like their 8th drummer, and it was just like there's such a rich history, and just like, man, it's amazing what happens when you really drop everything to take a chance. I think that's kind of something that comes into, especially in the 90s, like that was how you made it. It was no 1 foot in, 1 foot out. No, like I got to get back from tour so I can go work my job. It was like, you're either doing this or you're not doing this, because there's enough people that are doing this fully that made it.
So what gave you the courage to do that? And like tell me about what gave you the courage to do that, and tell me about the moment when you did it.
Man, so I was always the talker in the band, if you will, and I was getting us into. I mean, I was booking all of our shows. I was getting us into situations. I mean, even as a very young band, it was like we kind of learned the pre-sale game that most local bands have to go through, and people either complain about it and absolutely hate it, or you suck it up and play the game. And we sucked it up and played the game. And we also, I mean, we knew what opportunity could lead to. And so we would kind of be, it was like if we had a requirement to sell 50 tickets to a show and it was a couple days before the show and we only had 35 tickets sold, even if we didn't, we would come up with the remainder money to cover those tickets and either give them away or do some sort of thing so that we were making the venue money and they would want us to come back, and we were trying to reach a new audience because this was typically for national shows. And so we started playing national shows. Like my dad was driving us to national shows, putting all the gear in the back of his pickup truck. That's how young we were when we were getting on some of these shows. And so I'm very lucky that I got exposed to that early, because I guess something clicked and I realized that like you kind of just got to play the game without getting yourself effed over. And that's something that a lot of people in this industry are going to try and do. And so we were just like, we'll play this pre-sale game for a little bit and then we knew we had to build our worth. And so we would play the game. If we didn't sell all of our tickets, we'd lose a little bit money to play the show because we knew we were opening for, there was one that our first sold out show we played with Flyleaf. It was the weirdest thing ever. But like, basically we were trying to get on any show that we knew there was going to be a crowd from the headliner, but small enough that they would let a local opener hop on, that we would be able to provide benefit to the show. And we did that for a few years, and eventually it got to the point where we were just on every national show, and that's kind of what we were known for. It was like, oh, all right, Memphis Mayfire's coming to town, Beartooth's coming to town, like Mazda Flay, like, okay, Avoid's opening. Like that was or Avoid the Void is opening. That was kind of our thing. And then we eventually realized that we're like, okay, well now with the amount of people that are coming to these shows, we might be able to actually draw that on our own, because we've played in front of a lot of people. We've been on all these shows, and then we just tried it. Like it was on my 18th, I was 17. The day before my 18th birthday is when Avoid the Void played our first official headlining show, and like almost 300 people showed up, and it was like, whoa, okay. And that opened an entirely. We were like, okay, so we actually could be the headliner someday. And so, yeah, and then that made us really pursue wanting to, like, we always knew we wanted to be a part of the show, but we really just cared about being a part of the show. And that's still, like, I hate it when I hear bands complain about opening. You know how sick opening is? You're done by 7:30. You can go have a beer and hang out with the boys and watch the other bands on the set, meet some new friends at the bar, there's so much more that goes into this than just the 30 minutes of playing the show. But it's funny because we do all this just to do 30 minutes of something, and then we'll drive for 16 hours and do all this craziness. But yeah, it's just amazing,
you're you're beaming, man, when you talk about this stuff. So like you ask him.
What's the best thing about being a band?
It's fun. It's fun. That's what it is. It's fun.
How about this one?
What was your last?
What's your least favorite thing?
What's your least favorite thing about
being in a band?
Man, there's also a lot. It's a struggle, man, especially being a small artist and going through all this. Like, we absolutely, I really noticed the disconnect that sometimes can be there when we got on our first bigger national tour, and we were with Alisana and the Red Jumpsuit Apparatus playing in front of consistently almost 500 people a night across the country. That was something we'd never done. We just book our own tours, and we'll show up if you'll give us $50 and we'll play in the bar, and being exposed to that, it was really cool. But also really weird because it was like, they treated us as if we were like living in luxury. Like, oh, you guys going to the hotel later? You guys, it's like, no, man, we were still just scraping by. We made all our money selling merch, not from playing the show. And we were still sleeping in a truck stop every night. We were still, like there's, it takes a while for this to become luxurious. So you have to love all the nitty grittiness of that.
Sometimes I forget to take us off mute.
No worries.
What are the things that you get more fans?
What do you do to get more fans? Like in this day and age, what's it like to be a band in modern day?
Yeah, so we're kind of weird. So we never took the internet approach until very, very, very recently, and that is, I would say that is the way you get fans in the modern age. That the highest level is internet. But we, like I said, all of our roots are 90s grunge and looking up to Dave Grohl and all, like that's how we learned how to be in a band, was listening to those guys talk about being in a band. And it was, you got to take chances. I remember we played Knotfest in 2017 because we won a battle of the bands, and it was amazing. And Knotfest is 3,000 miles away from my house. And no, I'll take that back. I think this one was like 1,500 miles, but still a lot. And we were like 17, 18, got in our buddy's van. It was before we were touring full. We didn't even own a van to ourselves yet. We were going to go in our guitar player's mom's minivan. And then our buddy that was a little bit bigger than us was like, you guys can take my van if I can come with. And we were like, of course. And so we just hopped on and didn't get paid any money to play Knotfest. Probably spent a good $500 in gas, and you know what I mean? Didn't really get a lot of fans from it. And I would do that again tomorrow because I had a lot of fun doing it. And so I think you have to know how to play the internet game, and that was what helped us, is once we brought a couple people onto our team that did. But I think you also have to be blissfully ignorant and down to put it all on the line for the opportunity to play in front of a big crowd or a big show or whatever it is. I think you can't lose that sense of like, I'm willing to lose a ton of money and risk it all for the chance to play in front of X person because I hope that will get us to the next level. But also, like, they're not, like, you got to believe in yourself, not believe in that person's going to get me to the next level. But I believe that what I'm doing is so good that it's going to get their attention and we can work together.
That's awesome, man. So it seems like you did it the old school way by just getting out there and playing lots and lots of shows. And then it sounds, which is, I love it, you know. And then you brought some people on board that knew the internet. So that seems like you've got that down now. So, I mean, we're curious about...
tell us about your Switch channel.
Your Twitch channel. Like, how are you... It sounds like you're using technology in the right way. So tell us...
Yeah, well, and so it's kind of unload that, too. It's like we not only got some people on our team that knew what they were doing with social media, but we actually had a couple buddies in the area that got massive on YouTube, like, just happened to. And it was funny because a lot of people think that they did a certain thing, and it was like they were actually the ones that got lucky and just had a viral video overnight. But we got to watch how they honed that in. How are they producing content? How do they have now that I think they have 2 million subscribers? Like how do you guys continue to get the growth? And it was steady content. It wasn't, and then it doesn't even have to be, it can't be bad, but it doesn't necessarily have to be good. It just has to be there, and people have to like your personality like that. And so I think that was a big eye opener for us, that it's like, we don't necessarily have to do anything crazy. We just have to be ourselves and just share that on the internet. And know kind of where to put the right marketing dollars, et cetera, to make sure it gets seen by the right people. And then so with Twitch was our thing that we really started trying to do to just like I always say that, like, we don't have fans, we have friends, and we're all about hanging out with our friends. Like that's what this is about. And our shows are just giant hangouts. It's like a party. And we can't tour right now, so we can't necessarily do that. And so we we tried to, with being on the NASCAR Heat game and having a lot of connections in NASCAR and this other stuff, it was the perfect opportunity to start a racing league and being like, and we knew not everyone would be into it, but even if you didn't want to race, maybe you could come hang out, because it's not just racing. If anyone hasn't checked it out, we're doing Q&As on there the whole time, and we're just talking crap and having a lot of fun with it. And so it's our way to try and still interact with you as much as we can, because that's what we care about. People that care about interacting with us is why we are able to do what we do. And so we are in forever debt to anyone that wants to hang out with us. And so we try and make it as easy as possible.
That's awesome, man. I love it. Do you guys like play any music or perform on Twitch at all?
We haven't done that yet. We did like a live stream one of the first times. We did, I don't think it's on there anymore, but we actually did acoustic versions of songs that we've never done. And you can imagine, being a metal band, it was really weird putting some of our songs acoustically, and I actually think we did a pretty good job with it and made it pretty different. And so we'll definitely be doing more of that. And we have our EP comes out in November, and so that's when we're going to try and really do a big live stream. And I know that Jonathan might have told you I have like a 20-minute time window, but I'm done with interviews and anything for the day, so I'm on no time crunch if you guys aren't. So like I'm not pressed for time or anything. I will talk your ear off if you let me.
I can tell you will. No, we got some more time. I want to hear a little bit more about the EP and like what you guys have been up to, what we can kind of expect.
Yeah.
Great. So we want to hear what's coming up.
Yeah. So we have a new song coming out next month. And then we will probably be putting out, and we're putting out some covers in October, actually. And then November, the EP gets released, and there'll probably be 2 more songs that you guys haven't heard if anyone's been following along. And the nice thing about the size of our band is we're not huge by any means, but we're kind of starting to hit that rise. And so it's the perfect time to do a singles campaign like this. Because like if we were a really big band, I don't think it would make as much sense to like drop a song, and then hype up an EP and then have it only be 2 original songs. But I think the benefit of the size of our band and the things that are going on is it's like, hopefully by the time that EP comes out, with each single we put out, we're getting so many new press opportunities and opportunities to garner new fans that by November is coming out. Like if you've been here and you're the couple thousand that were on board from the beginning, like, yeah, you know these songs, but there's a very large group of people that haven't heard these songs yet. And so we're hoping that with kind of doing it like 1 song a month and dribbling it out a little bit, letting each song breathe, it's going to hopefully get the name out and because even if it's as simple as a ton of people shared it and you didn't check out the song, but you saw our name, and then the next song that comes out, you check it out because you saw our name and we were putting stuff out. Like, I think it's all a chain reaction with stuff like that. And so we're just hoping that you guys dig it.
So how did you guys get hooked up with that NASCAR, with the game?
This is actually a really funny story, and it's really dumb. But we literally, our guitar player, Luke, especially, he's a big Reddit nerd. He's always scouring the subreddits and checking that stuff out. And so one night, after a couple brewskis, we were like, screw it. He was just like, I'm gonna make a post, and he literally just posted in the NASCAR Heat forum on Reddit, how do you submit your music for the game? And the one person that responded back was a game developer for 704 Games, and he was like, send it to this email, and we were like, I mean, can't hurt, screw it. And so we sent it over, and we didn't hear from them for like 2 months, and we were like, oh, cool. So they hated it. And then out of the blue, they email us one morning with a contract in our email being like, we love this. We would actually like to use 2 of your upcoming songs, and can we use this in like the commercials for the game? And we were like, what? What? This is so crazy. But it was no crazy connection. We literally just took a chance and made a post on the internet and got lucky.
I love it, man. That's like maybe the second time you talked about taking a chance. So, so yeah, tell us a little bit more. Like, what advice would you give this guy? You know,
I would say, don't let anyone tell you you're on the wrong path, but listen to them. provide your own destiny, and there's going to be good and bad people in your life, and they're going to all disguise themselves as good people, and they're going to say it in a really nice way and like, oh, you should totally do this and you should, but find trustworthy people in your life to always bounce stuff off of. Never show your cards. Always you got to have that poker face. You don't want people around you to know what you have fully to the extent of what you have going on. You want to, but like what I'm saying, it's important to have a good, trustworthy support system, because I think human interaction and talking about ideas is what helps ideas grow and get to the next level. And I think that can be taken in politics and any other thing in the life. I think conversation and expanding on an idea is important. But whatever you're going to do, whatever you're creative or non-creative, business, whatever you want to do, and all of it is okay, no matter what anyone tells you, but just do it. Do it to the fullest extent. Don't hold back. Don't let someone tell you, well, if you do this, this might, nah, screw all that. Just do it and get educated. Educate yourself. If you love something, get educated. And if you get educated on something, then you won't be stupid, and then you can do whatever you want.
I love your energy, man.
Thank you, man.
I think we're gonna end here on a really high note.
Yeah, absolutely.
Fantastic interview. Why don't you tell us where we can find you and what we should expect coming out next?
Yeah, so we are all on social media at Avoid Kicks Ass. Super easy, and we kick ass. So and so you can find that Facebook.com/Avoid Kicks Ass, Instagram at Avoid Kicks Ass, all that. Twitch.tv/Avoid Kicks Ass. It's all the same. We are just trying to remind you as much as possible that we kick ass. So yeah, that's our whole thing, man. Love your friend. Check in on your friend. Like I've been trying to say this all of quarantine, but check in on your friends. Make sure everyone's doing okay. Have a conversation. See a therapist. Whatever you got to do, take care of yourself. That is the most important thing right now.
Benny, man, you're awesome. I love your band. You're awesome, man. Thank you so much for taking the time, right?
Hey, thank you guys for wanting me on. I'm happy to do this whenever. I hope we can chat again soon.
Yeah.
You can count on it, man. We're fans.
I love it. I'll make sure, if you guys don't have any merch or anything yet, I'll get your information and make sure you guys got some swag to rep and stuff.
Yeah, man, we're gonna find you, right?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Awesome. You guys are amazing, and I think you're gonna do great things. I love you doing your show, and yeah, thank you for having me on.
Oh man, thank you so much. We're beaming too, dude.
I love that. You guys are great. I'll catch you guys soon.
All right, man. Cheers. Thank you so much.
Cheers. Have a great rest of your guys' day.
That went well, right?
Yeah. Stop the recording, you know. Yeah, press the stop recording.
What do I gotta do?
Press that, I think.
Well, thanks for watching. That was a great time, right?
Yes.
All right. Cheers.